Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Camera Tuesday. In today's episode we're gonna talk about which dashcam to buy. My last episode was why dashcam is there, why it's a necessary thing. Now first we have to understand this one core thing. Any dashcam is better than no dashcam. Rule number one. Now which dashcam to buy? Well, first you have to understand about power. Now this is core thing. Dashcams do not run on their own batteries. They are only used like their own internal power source. Basically, be it battery or supercapacitor, is to save fire. When you turn off your car, it does not know in advance, hey, you're gonna turn off your car. So it has to have some power source. When you turn off your key to like, okay, I'm without power now, I have to save the file and shut down safely. That's the sole reason. That is why capacitor is even enough option. So here's a simple thing. Do not buy battery. If you can afford it, go for capacitor. Capacitors are a bit more expensive. That's why it's not found in everything, but they have multiple advantage. First advantage, because they have ludicrously large operational range. Basically, due to greenhouse effect in your car, if it's left in the summer, it can get ludicrously hot. It can handle it much better than lithium ion, and many people have found it that lithium ion battery expands and damages the camera from the inside or catches on fire. So in those scenarios, flat out go for supercapacitor. It's much better, like flat out. There is no discussion here. It's just simply better. On all professional, I'm saying all the premium cameras are only capacitor only. So capacitor, go. Then we talk about lens. Now lens is one critical aspect, because again, if it's a cheap plastic lens, it's not gonna look very good, and if it's not wide enough, it will not show enough of the road. Because let's say you have a lens, a dash cam that is short lens, basically 120 degrees arc of view. Now it's not enough. Basically, if somebody side hits you, you will see, okay, somebody hit it, and if it's bonnet would be there, but you will not see whether you were at fault or they were at fault. So that insurance will not give you that no claim bonus. But if let's say you have 150 degree, which they call 4-lane or 6-lane camera, which is 170 degree, then you can be definitely sure, if you are driving normally and somebody hit you from the side, that will be clearly shown, hey, you are doing your job, you drive as you were supposed to, and somebody hit from side, boom, and you will get your no claim insurance. So wider is better. However, there is two core side effect of that. Because it's wider, it's capturing more, the resolution goes down. Because again, think of it this way: each pixel on your sensor has to record much larger area, so it will look low, quote unquote low resolution, and the speed of your vehicle will not look very original, so to say. Because the moment you start to go around 140, 150, it's like it's not normal, not for our human eye. So your video will look very relaxed, very wide kind of thing, especially for the lenses that have what we call field correction. Basically, they will remove the fisheye effect on the lens itself. So it's awesome. But it will, speed of everything will look slow down, because even in my camera, which was like only 140, when I drove it at 100k mph, it was looking like, yeah, I'm just going, no big deal. So be mindful of that. Now, what about mounting? You will have hundreds of options. Now, this is one thing you have to understand. You want it to be stealthy, not only for the sake that other people should not able to see it. There is other laws and rules and regulations on places where you cannot clutter up your dashboard like this, basically, so to say. So this is again done for laughs and giggles, but you do not want this. You want your camera to be as hidden as possible, and I don't only mean from like people outside, also from your inside, so you also forget about that. So that's the whole reality of it. It's supposed to be as stealthy as possible. And suction mount, they are good for if you are testing it out, like, hey, I'm gonna buy this car or test driving this car, you have it, or hey, I'm testing between these two dash cams, use that. But those are not very good long-term solution. Ideally go for adhesive mounts, and nowadays you get 3M double-sided tape, which does not leave any residue if you want to remove it, and they are very strong, time tested kind of strong. Like really, those are the same thing used for gluing windows to Burj Khalifa, so to say. So you get the idea, like go for adhesive mount. Now what about card capacity? Now this is one thing that separates the cheap systems from expensive one. Expensive one will allow you to have as high card capacity as possible, and there is a benefit to that. It's not just that, oh, you have a bigger car. There is a benefit simply because, let's say you are driving 100 hours in a year, let's say 100 hours. Now that 100 hours, it has to be recorded in your card, and it will be looping. Now the more the loop, it will basically, the loop is, let's say, every 10 hours. That simply means you have to rewrite 10 times. But let's say your card is 128 GB, which gives you generally 20 hours of recording. That means you will only rewrite same cell for 2 times rather basically 5 times rather than 10 times if you are using 64 GB. That means your card will last longer. That is why go for bigger card and the cameras that can support it. That is one luxury feature. It will even make your cheap card last longer. So these are the hardware aspects of it. Go for super capacitor as wide as you can get. Be mindful your speed may look off. It's like, dude, it does not look I'm driving at like 100 kmpl, but it will be mindful of that. That effect happens. Stealth is the key. You want to hide it as well as possible. Then bigger cards are better. Now, what about the video? Now, this is one thing I'm telling from experience is that I just got a car and got dash cam and 2 dash cams. Basically, I had one DD and I returned it because it had horrible basically data compression. So I had to remove it. And you have to learn this from experience itself. The video quality generally never looks as good as you would think. Even though they cost a lot, even though they are expensive piece of equipment, they will not look as good as GoPros or mobile phone. They are not meant for that. And not to mention because of how they are meant and operated and they are low costing item, they are double priced. And think about this number plate readability. It's only readable if you are at relatively low speed. What does a relatively low speed? Simply think of it this way: you are driving at 100 kmpl, somebody is driving 120 kmpl and overtakes you. That's only 20 kmpl difference. So relative speed is low, you can read the number plate. But if let's say something is like this happening, you are driving like you may be driving as little as 27 kmpl, but that person driving at 50, relative speed is high, forget about it. You cannot read number plates on that, and many number plates are reflective, so good luck with that. So do be mindful about that. Do not expect like, hey, I'm gonna read every number plate on the road. That's not gonna happen. You're only gonna read something A, very close by, B, something is at very relative slow speed. So that's the one thing. Like, do not get tapped into, hey, no, none of the dash cam is showing number plates. People who have like experimented with 40-50, they'll only say, yeah, it has higher chance of reading your number plate, rather than like, oh, you have this, you will get it. No, that does not happen. So that is one crucial thing you have to understand. Do not expect like, I'm gonna read every single damn number plate out there. It's not gonna happen. Then this is one simplest way to check whether your camera would have any decent video quality or not, is basically if it's 1080p and 30 fps, it must have mbps higher than 10. It does not matter if it's H.264 or H.265. H.265 really makes a difference when you're talking about large formats, aka 4K. Then it makes a difference. But if some 1080p camera is there, H.265 is there, and the bitrate is lower than 10, do not even touch it. Do not even touch it. I learned this the hard way. DPI was 10 fps. The video compression on this puppy was so bad, I'm like, yeah, I simply cannot use it. Now when I got the Aukey as a replacement, again, it's double price. In India it's not directly available, so it's double price. It's very cheap in USA, but it's double price here, and I paid for it. And I wasn't that stoked about the video quality. That's why I'm saying I learned it the hard way. But I showed the videos to other people because who are not like video geeks like me, and they can easily spot, hey, this is much better. They can easily spot, hey, the colors are much more vibrant, it does not look as crushed, the compression artifacts is much less comparatively speaking. So that is why I'm saying you must be at 10 mbps or higher. Now try to find a raw video of that. What do I mean by raw? Basically no After Effects, no Premiere, like it should not be re-rendered. Basically you just take the file, that's it, watch it. The best way to do that is Tech Moon's video, and he has been reviewing dashcam for 10 years. He has a video footage of those dashcam directly, so basically you can download it as it came out of your basically dashcam itself. That is the best way to judge it. Do not judge by YouTube, because YouTube does things. Again, it has to compress it, it has to enhance it, it has to do butter masala to it. So do not judge by YouTube. Now, okay, if you have two dash cams side by side, you can make a difference. But if you are like, okay, this video of this, that video of that, because you do not know the scenario, maybe the next day was a duller, basically it has a more overcast shadows, video will look bit muddy, but again the lighting was muddy, you will not know that. So unless you are seeing video of like multiple cameras mounted in same dashboard, YouTube is not a good judge. So try to find raw files, basically files that are taken from dashcam directly, without any compression, without any hoo-ha. I know it's difficult, frustrating also to find those, but again, it will give you much more accurate representation of what you're actually gonna get, because YouTube will mess up your perception. Now, how will you judge? Let's say you found two footages, how are you gonna judge? Look for compression artifacts, especially on trees. Trees are the best friend here. Basically, they will directly show if somebody is doing compression artifacts, because cheaper dashcams use what we call variable bitrate, VBR. Now, variable bitrate, it's good for your file size, bad side effect. Camera does not know what it needs to compress. So sometimes it will compress the number plate also, sometimes it will compress the car in front of you. It does not know what to compress, it makes a guess. That is why trees can easily show it, because in tree it's supposed to add data but it cannot, so it messes it up. So, and premium dashcam, they have fixed bitrate like 100, basically 10 mbps, 20 mbps, or 25. Some highest is 25 I have seen. So look for compression artifact. Now this is one thing that you're gonna have to deal with eventually, because of the ludicrously wide angle lenses these puppies have. They have bad reflection. Like this, the reflection that you see here, it's from my heads-up display, and my dash cam is in the center, so you can literally see the heads-up display. So I don't even need to have GPS for speed and all that. But again, my dash cam, if you have seen my Monday video about my espresso, it has a white trim. Now that shines like there is no tomorrow. So it shines like, it basically makes my dashcam useless. Basically there is a crescent moon in every my video dashcam video. So in those sort of scenario, you have to either invest in polarizer, dashcam mat. Basically there will be a mat or carpet sort of thing put on your dashboard. That is the best option, because that will not have any side effect on your light emissions. Basically this does make your thing darker, so either you have to increase the EV basically brightness value on your dashcam, and it will reduce your nighttime visibility also. However, it will also make it more readable, because shininess will be reduced. Number plates will be much more easy to read, not by too much. Do not expect, be mindful, do not expect that number plate. What is that number plate? It's not movie where you're gonna enhance. That does not happen. So be mindful of that. Be mindful, do not compare it to your mobile phone or GoPro, they will fail. And do not just go like every number plate. Most of the times you cannot read number plates. Try to be at least 10 mbps bare minimum. Try to find raw files to judge. These are the best tools you're gonna get. Try to look for trees, because they will easily tell you, hey, how is the compression on this. And if you have a dashboard that is more shiny than mine, well, God help you. And in those sort of scenarios, try to get a polarizer. Now polarizer does have some benefits. It will darken your videos, but it will improve the readability of everything if done correctly, if aligned properly. So it's a good investment. Rather than buying GPS antenna and all that, invest in these things. So what about extra bells and whistles about? We talked about video. What about the extra bells and whistles that are now being sold? Well, Wi-Fi is a convenience. DDPi had Wi-Fi, and many cheaper dashcams nowadays flat out ditch the screen. They only give you Wi-Fi. Now DDPi had something that was very suspicious. It was like, it needed my GPS location to work, and I asked them, like, why do you need my GPS location in order to for Wi-Fi to work? It's like, sir, because our higher end model uses GPS data from your mobile phone plus the basically sensor on the camera to collaborate the location and give you a higher accuracy. I'm like, first, that is BS. Second, okay, I get, let's say somehow you justify it, and somebody is there who's driving a dash cam while connected to their mobile phone. Nobody does that unless they are like, downloading or uploading. Nobody will do that. Like, yeah, I have Wi-Fi that is directly connected 24/7 to that. So that was big BS. Why the heck my model, which does not have GPS system, has that? It's like, sir, it's like this and that and that. I'm like, no. Just unlimited. Like, if China wants to track me, they should work for it, not just like YOLO track me. So be mindful of that. Many Chinese one will do that. It's like, hey, your GPS without GPS will not work. So say no to them. Then you have to understand this one aspect, GPS data. Now GPS is a very hip thing right now. Be mindful of that. If you are thinking about uploading your videos anywhere, do you really want people to know your exact location? Because you may see those numbers, but if you put that number in basically Google Map, people can find out where exactly that is. What about the speed? Now speed, one thing you have to understand is that it's a dual-edged sword. Now if you are giving your car to someone else, basically loaning your car, or let's say you have multiple staff member in your company that is driving the same car, speed data for you is very useful. For insurance, it's a really good godsend for them and bad for you, simply because 99% of time you are over speeding. Flat out in India, 99% of the time, because speedometer, speed rating would be 20 kmpl. Everybody would be at 40. You cannot be at 20. You will hit from the behind, so you have to be at 40, and your insurance is like, no claim bonus for you because you are over speeding, your fault. So be mindful. It's a dual-edged sword. Now again, if you're giving your car to a kid and he's just got a driving license and he's doing Tokyo drifting too much, you need to know the speed for that is a very good, because I did specify wide angle lens makes your video look very slow. You're like, are you driving at 60 or 50 or even 10? So do understand of that. Now This is extra feature available properly done in high-end models, but even cheaper ones, especially the capacitor ones, are also doing is like hardwire kit connected to your battery directly. Now be mindful, it is a direct danger to your battery. Even when you say like they have safety cutoff, be mindful your car batteries are not designed as what we call deep cycle battery. They are not inverter battery or UPS battery. They are meant as a capacitor. That's why they have ludicrously high ampere rating, basically 600 amp core start, 400 amps. So even if you drain a little bit, just by like a 5 watts or 10 watt, continuously drain it, you seriously put into a risk where you can drop the surface charge enough that your car will not start. And modern cars have very small batteries. Like older ones like used to have overbuilt batteries, because that time it was not that reliable, so they had over batteries. On those car, if you have car that is built in 1970, go YOLO, those batteries are like overbuilt. So but you get the idea. The modern ones is the margin of charge you have is very thin, so do not put load on that. Now if you really want to do parking and your car is expensive enough that you are willing to spend enough, get something like this. Basically this is a dash cam battery pack. These are lithium phosphate, not iron, lithium phosphate. The reason for that, lithium phosphate is much more temperature resilient, much more expensive, much bigger also, because like this, in terms of watt hour, it does not have too much. It's like 3 times less than lithium ion. However, these are fireproof, so basically even if your car catches fire, this will not add to it. And it's much more temperature resilient, and it also has very large cycle life. So basically you put it and you forget about it. Unless there is a short circuit, nothing will go down bad on this. Basically it's not something you have to replace like a power brick that you have to replace every 3-4 weeks. 3-4 weeks, I'm saying every 2-3 years. This will last forever. The charge cycle, or like a normal lithium ion, will have 3000, this will have 10,000. So there is reason for this to be expensive. It's not mass produced and it's not sold. The chemistry itself is not mass produced or sold that much, so that is why it's ludicrously expensive. But this is a proper way of doing parking recording. Try doing that with your battery. With your modern car, you can destroy it. At least you can trap yourself in a position where you're like, dude, well, the key does not work. So I would stay away from those things. Now G sensor. Now this is one of the things that you will think, oh, it's awesome, and after using it, you're like, I must disable it, because G sensors are oversensitive. So the moment you put it to low, that will you learn on your own. I will not specify why. You will learn that you have to turn it either off or low. Now in low scenarios, problem is that if you accelerate hard, it will detect it. If you hit a pothole, depending on India, it could be really bad, it will detect it. Now problem with that is your card must have files that it can delete. Whenever G sensor detects something, it locks that file, so it cannot rewrite those. So let's say your card was like capable of 12-hour recording, now, and it will delete that. Now you were driving bad roads, like 3 to 4 hours of video files are now undeletable by the camera, because camera thinks those are event files. And then you have to loop again. You drove like for let's say another 10 12 hours. Now your whole card is full, you have to format it. So in those such scenario, you will learn the hard way that G sensor does not work. You have an accident, take the file out, put it in your basically mobile phone if it's Wi-Fi based, or basically do a card reader. Heck, nowadays you can find card reader that directly allows you to copy to your mobile phone, so that's also doable. Have some minor small card reader in your dashboard. So do those things rather than relying on G sensor, and disable the G sensor. Trust me, you will be thankful of that. However, there are certain dashcams which have a remote button, which I love it. But now touching the dashcam, again, if you saw something interesting and driving safely, you can do like this. Be my guest, that's up to you. And all dashcams allow you to do that. But there are certain dashcams that have remote, some even wireless remote. Those are awesome. Because like let's say for my case, I saw BMW in my small hometown. I'm like, I needed a button there where you can do something, basically lock that file. I would love that, but very few dashcams have that. So these are the extras that we are talking about. Now okay, now I have made you all confused and convoluted. So let's start with starter option. The bare minimum, the bare basic that you have to do. Blueskysea B1W, it's available in India, so that is why I'm recommending it. And it has the one side effect, it does not go to 128 GB, but it does go to 64. Some are 32 now, it is in 2020. So 64 is good. Now please always use high quality endurance card in your dashcam, simply because if you use normal micro SD card, even though you had good results like getting a refund or I'm saying replaced your micro SD card, it will not happen the moment you put your micro SD card in your dashcam. Flat out read the fine print. All card manufacturer, be it Samsung, be it SanDisk, flat out provides warranty the moment you put it in dashcam. So for dashcam you have to buy high endurance one. These does not mean like they will never fail, it's just the likelihood of that. Let's say you bought 10 of them, likelihood of endurance one will failing would be much lower. If you don't buy normal one, the card will become a consumable that basically every few months you have to replace. So go with this. Now a Samsung one was the best, but they are very expensive. SanDisk is the second best, and it's like half the price. So it's still double price than normal micro SD card, but half price compared to Samsung one. So basically, this has a very good system. Wi-Fi app is like meh at best, but does not require GPS location. So that's awesome. Now this is option number one. It does have one side of it. It's not very stealthy, even though it's very small. But the way its shape is designed and it has a cable sticking out of it, it's very obvious that there is something that's not supposed to be there. So it does not get stealthy mark from me. However, the second option, much more expensive in at least in India, is Aukey DR02, but it has 128 GB, but does not have Wi-Fi. But it is very stealthy. Like I have put this basically on in my car. Basically, DR02 model, and you can find a lot of video about this. Like it is surprisingly popular. So it does have its quirks. Basically, it will not yell at you if your card fails. This will keep yelling at you. So that's awesome. And it is a kind of cruddy scenario, and that is the reason you want high endurance car. The likelihood of that happening should be lower. So that's a pretty awesome thing. Now in these two, I'm reasonably sure if you buy any one of these, you are very good, like in very good standing, that your dash cam will not fail you randomly. Like everything can fail, something bad could happen. Heck, your car alternator can go YOLO and like destroy your whole soft circuitries. So things could happen, but these two dashcam have a highest probability on a budget to give you a very good footage, allows you to have accessories like a polarized filter available for both of them, and they have good enough reliability, super capacitor, especially on a hot climate. You want to have super capacitor. You really don't want to find out what happens if you have a lithium ion that catches on fire. So these are very good starter option. So this was my presentation on which dashcam to buy. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button and share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me your disappointment. Please leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.